With all the excitement that is around Bitcoin with its recent run up, obviously last week's video, we talked about how it could shoot to 100K with so many different catalysts going on. Another one this week, the Toronto Stock Exchange was the first exchange to offer an ETF that tracks the price of Bitcoin. This is absolutely fantastic. And when I think about it, there is some other ways that the Toronto Stock Exchange had in the past to play Bitcoin. So I decided to put together a video to talk about each individual one. And if you stay tuned to the end of the video, we'll talk about which one is best for you. Nick here from Ways of Wealth. Thank you for tuning in. It's another market recap, and if this is your first time here, we highlight key events that happened in the market over the past week. But before we get right into the video, before we start, I'd like to ask you a huge favor. If you get some value or you learn something new, smash that like button. It definitely helps me out, and I would appreciate that. And if you haven't already, please consider hitting that subscribe button, turning that notification bell on. We do this every single Sunday in order to make things as most efficient and smooth and give you the most amount of information in the shortest period of time. What we're going to do is we're going to hop into the computer, and that brings me to the BNN Bloomberg article about the Purpose Bitcoin ETF. It was the first one, like I mentioned before, that was going to be listed on an exchange, and it had an absolutely amazing debut. So first and foremost, the ticker is BTCC. It trades in both Canadian and US funds. We'll talk a little bit about the nitty gritty a little bit. All I want to do is point out here, where did I see that? I saw that it had exchanged a US $145 million in the first day. So an absolutely crazy day for the fund there. But here we go onto the website. It is the Purpose Bitcoin ETF, like I mentioned before. And obviously it's touting itself as the world's first. Own a piece of history with the physically settled Bitcoin ETF. And obviously here are some of the benefits as to why you would want to own in the stock market as opposed to why you would want to own the actual physical currency itself. No digital wallet. For me, that's one of the biggest questions I have. I see a lot of people online saying, somebody hacked me, I forget my password. There's so many different variables when it comes to that. It's physically settled and safely held. So I believe that they work with Gemini, which is the Winklevoss, the guys from Facebook, the twins there. I think they work with their company. So you don't really have to worry about security. And then there would also be insurance, simple to trade, just like buying your favorite stocks. At the end of the day, you could play the flip side of this because once you get experience with trading crypto, it trades 24/7. So you're not subject to the market open and close hours. But the most important part about this is the TFSA RSP eligibility. If you sell your crypto, you will have to pay taxes on it. But if you put it into a TFSA and let it ride, you would not have to pay taxes on that. So it was, like I mentioned before, it trades both in Canadian and US. So the Canadian side, it's non-currency hedged. And the ticker symbol is btcc.b, and the US side is btcc.u. Okay, so important to note that the management fee is 1%. It is on the low side. We'll go through all the other ones, but from here on out, what we want to note is the Bitcoin per share on the US side is 0.0001905. Also on the Canadian side is 0.00. Forget that. We'll track it later. I put it all into an Excel spreadsheet and we'll figure out, and that'll be a key component as to why we figure out what's important. So when we look at this, obviously it's eligibility for DRIP and obviously the registered accounts like we mentioned before with the TFSA and RRSP. Okay, the next one that kind of flew under the radar that started trading on Friday is Evolve ETF. It's ticker symbol EBIT. And this is kind of giving you all these same pros as to why you would want to buy Purpose. So direct access to the price of Bitcoin, provides secure investment solution. It trades and holds actual Bitcoin. Now, when I was looking through this one, I could not find the amount of Bitcoin that it would hold per share like we did in the Purpose Fund. So I kind of really can't get the true information out of this, but it's something that I will be watching out for. Much like the Purpose, it will be trading unhedged in Canadian. It will also have US exposure as well. So EBIT on the Canadian side, on the US side, it's ebit.u. Okay, so it traded the US side of things at 21.40.54 at close. On the Canadian side, it was 27.17. From there, obviously, the investment objective is to provide exposure with daily price movements of the US dollar price while experiencing minimal tracking error by utilizing the benefits of creation and redemption processes. So basically, it just wants to reflect the price as best as possible. So who should consider this ETF? You're seeking exposure to daily price movements of the US dollar, Bitcoin, seeking convenient, secure alternative to a direct investment. So you don't want to actually invest in Bitcoin directly, but you want to, experience that run up. And those who have the capacity to absorb a loss, obviously what they're saying there is that this is a super risky investment. So that just gives you an explanation of the two ETFs that were created this week. So there's not too much history, and we can't really track how the movement of those prices have moved with the price of Bitcoin. And this brings us to the CI Galaxy Bitcoin Fund. It trades on the Toronto Stock Exchange. All of these will as btcc.b. This is the US side of things. It closed on Friday at $22.12. The Canadian side in Canadian dollars, obviously unhedged as well, closed at 27.58 as of Friday. So again, investor suitability for those investors who want to gain exposure to Bitcoin, can handle the volatility, are investing for the medium and long term, and can tolerate high to medium risk. So kind of flowing through that same discussion that we had before. The only difference is this is a unit trust. So I believe it mentions somewhere about being a closed-end fund. But obviously you can take a look at the performance over the long run. But obviously what we want to take a look at is inception date was December the 15th. So it's been around for a couple months now. It has over 7 million units outstanding. And then from there, obviously what we tracked in the Purpose is it gives you 0.00045 Bitcoin per share or per unit. And the management fee is 1.8%. It is eligible for all those registered accounts that we mentioned before, your RRSP, your TFSA, and this one gives you your RESP. So if you want to invest for your children, it is there. Obviously, with it being a very risky asset, probably not the best, but obviously it's your money. You decide what you want to do with it. So again, this is the third one that we said that we talk about. The fourth is kind of the veteran. It's been around since April of 2020, and this one is the Bitcoin Fund. So this one trades again on the Toronto Stock Exchange, two different Canadian and US exposure following the same theme. The first one we'll talk about is the US side of things, QBTC.U. And this one closed as of Friday at $55.40. My apologies, dyslexia clicking in. We'll talk about in a bit what the Bitcoin per share is. But first and foremost, the Bitcoin fund also trades in Canadian, and this one closed at $69.86. Again, like I mentioned, it started in April of 2020. It is eligible for all those registered accounts that we discussed before. So that is very good news. And the Bitcoin per unit, as we see right here, is 0.00112. And the management fee, I don't know if we skipped over that, but the management fee on this one is 1.95%. So it is the highest. It also works as a unit trust. So obviously these would be, subject to commission fees when you're buying it. Whereas if you buy the first two, you wouldn't have to pay your commissions on your Wealthsimple or your QUESTRADE accounts if you have those. So again, just to confirm, we got the four. We have Purpose, we have Evolve, we have the Galaxy, the CI Galaxy, and this one is by 3IQ. It's called the Bitcoin Fund. So these have kind of been in the market for a couple months now. But what we're going to talk about next is which one is the best. We can't just look at the price per share. We really have to dig down pretty deep to figure out, which one is going to be the best, give us the best exposure to Bitcoin for the price. I wanted to make it easy for you, so I created an Excel document that breaks down all of the different funds that trade on the exchange. We look at both the Canadian and US, and some of the facts that I want to point out right away is I pretended that I had $2,000, both $2,000 US and Canadian. I didn't really want to get into the nitty gritty of getting down to the currency exchange, but I take a look at all the prices as of close on Friday. The currency, we look at column F, which is the Bitcoin per share. I think this is one of the most important ones because it tells you how much Bitcoin you're getting in a share, and that's why the prices are different, right? So we also look at the management fee, which is very important. It's how much it's going to cost you to be invested over an annual or yearly time period. And obviously because the prices are different, the shares bought are going to be different. So what we do here is obviously, we'll go through the first example just to show you a little bit of indication of where my thought process is coming from. BTCC, the Canadian version, it closed on Friday at 10.55. This is the amount of Bitcoin you can get per share based on $2,000 Canadian. You can buy 189 shares of it. It's going to cost you just shy $1,993. And based on 189 shares, it's going to get you 0.028 Bitcoin. Now, what I wanted to do is reverse engineer it. So what I did is I took that number, and we want to figure out, based on the price of Bitcoin as of close on Friday at 4 o'clock, how much that actually means in US, and then we convert to Canadian. So what I mean by that is that on Friday at 4, Bitcoin closed at 53,687. That means that 0.028 is equivalent to 1,522 US, converted at today's exchange rate at a 2%, which is normally what brokerages charge you to convert, ends up being $1,965. So that's how much your Bitcoin is worth. So if you look at it, you actually paid less than that. So if you subtract the MER from the cost of what it is, that ends up being 1980 something in around there. That means that you probably would have been better off, excluding fees, to just go and buy the Bitcoin directly, from one of these companies like Coinbase or something like that. So that fund was hot this week. A lot of people were investing, and that's caused the premium to shoot up. So as we continue to look through, I could not find this for the Evolve I couldn't find the Bitcoin per share. I did mention it earlier. I will keep my eye out for that. If I see it, I will update you and keep you posted. This will probably vary. Obviously, you know, the crypto markets are open 24/7. The stock market is open from 9:30 to 4 Monday to Friday, and that is one of the risks when it comes to, you know, using your exposure in the stock market, because if on the weekend or outside the hours that crypto, you know, falls off a cliff, you can't go and sell your shares. So that is definitely something to take into consideration. So please be wary of that if this is the way that you're looking to gain exposure. It is a very risky asset. We saw all the funds kind of highlight that before. But one of the ones that I wanted to point out as being the best, and you can kind of take a look at all these and see what the premiums are. The best one is the CI Galaxy btcg.un, the 2758 Canadian. It would give you exposure to 0.03 Bitcoins based on the 72 shares. And that would actually equate back to $2,245. So as you can see, you only paid $19.85 minus the 35 expense ratio, and you're actually getting $2,200 worth. So it's trading at a 11% discount, which is absolutely incredible. If I'm looking to move into the space, this one is definitely the one that I would be adding. You know, some of the other ones actually provide some discounts. As you can see, kind of the Galaxy and the unit trusts are providing discounts. Okay, yeah, the MER might be a little bit, but hey, at the end of the day, if I have to pay less and get more, count me in. So that's it for this week on the market recap. I hope you enjoyed the video. The clear winner, CI Galaxy Fund, the btcg.un, trading in Canadian. If you get some value, if you learn something new, smash that like button for me. And if you're still here, please consider subscribing. We do this every single week. I hope you all have a great week on the markets. Happy trading.